enemies will pretty much be never able to reach it. Did you know that you can actually recruit different unit types other than the one you have? So for example, here we have Castile, and I'll be using console commands here, but you can do all of this in the Iron Man mode as well. So I'll vassalize Granada, which is a Muslim technology country, so they have a Muslim unit. So, and we are Castile again, so we have Western. So if you recruit armies on the Granadan provinces through the regular macro builder here, you will see that you will get a Latin medieval infantry, which is just a regular Western unit. But if we cancel this one and recruit our units through the window here, recruit regiment, we can actually see that we will get the local unit, which is a Muslim archer or charge cavalry, which are slightly better on this technology. So let's take a look. Yeah, here you can see we get a Muslim archer as Castile, which has 3 pips compared to the Western unit, which only has 2. So that's quite a bit better on this technology. It works really well if you are, for example, a Western European country that has really weak pips early game, and you're trying to get the better ones from like the Muslim regions, Anatolian, or even better Horde region. You'd have a way stronger units than your neighbors. The reason why I think it's a pretty useless tip for most of the games is that if you actually take a military tech that changes units, so for example I get to tech 5, we can see that our Muslim archers or our Muslim units become just plain old European units. So that's obviously not great, meaning that you can only have these units maybe for maximum of 20 to 30 years. You can play around with it. In multiplayer I think it actually has a place, because any difference in military quality is significant in multiplayer. So again, if you're playing as Castile, having a small Muslim vassal here where you can get Muslim units, especially cavalry, considering that for example Western cavalry doesn't have any upgrades until tech 10. So if you compare that with Granada or any other Muslim nation, which receives the upgrade at tech 6, so meaning that if you actually plan to use cavalry as a Western nation, which you probably shouldn't do in the first place, but if you do, getting a Muslim cavalry that has, for example, 6 pips at tech 6 compared to a Castilian cavalry which only has 3 pips, it's a massive difference. It will be even bigger if we use, like, again, Anatolian or 4 units. So the next thing we'll talk about is something that's rarely discussed in EU4, and that's weather and climate. So if we go to the geographical map modes, we can see at the bottom 2 map modes, so the weather and the climate map mode. So if you click a climate map mode, for example, we can see that there are 4 climates. So Arctic, temperate, arid, as well as a tropical climate, same applies to the New World. Climates affect province modifiers, so if you see here, we have that arid climate gives additional 10% dev cost, among other things. Tropical one, for example, use additional 5% cost. And while the Arctic one is really bad, it gives plus 50% local development cost, so it's really bad. What that means is that most of the African region, as well as Southeast Asia and large portion of India, are not very good for playing tall. So the East Asia, as well as Europe and North America, are really good for that. But what people talk less about is the weather. So if we see here, you can see a pretty interesting map mode. What's interesting about here is that we have 2 types of weathers essentially. We have winters here, so there's these white things, and we have monsoons, so these blue things. And the black means that there's no winter and no monsoon, so very good. So if we see here that for example around here in North Russia, we can see that winters here are severe. So what that means is that, for example, here we can see a mild winter province modifier, which gives additional attrition, and decreases the supply limit, and if we see normal winter is even worse, and maybe we can find somewhere here severe winter. Actually, let me pass a few days somewhere in December, maybe. Let's take a look. Normal winter. Severe winter here is giving additional 3 attrition for enemies, as well as decreases supply limit, which in fact means that your attrition will be even worse than just +3 flat modifier. So what that means is that if you want to min-max invading Russia, for example, don't do it in winter, do it in other seasons. Same applies for Scandinavia and North America, as well as these portions in the mountain regions in Tibet, as well as I don't know what mountain this is actually, but anyways, that's not something you can use much. Usually your wars will last more than a year, so you shouldn't worry about that too much. But if you have a very quick war and you want to really min-max it, you can do that, but it's pretty useless, I guess. What's a bit more interesting is the monsoon season here. So if we zoom into India a bit closer, we can see mild, normal as well as severe monsoon, just like the winters. And unlike winters, they give a bit different modifiers. So if we try to pass a few dates to find it, should be an additional icon just like here. Nope, none of this. Let's see. Here we go. So here we have a severe monsoon, which gives additional attrition just like the winter. But what it also does is it decreases the movement speed of both your and like allied troops, as well as enemy troops by 50%. So for example, if we play as this nation, if we declare war and scorch this province, so 50% from scorched earth and 50% from severe monsoon means that Malva will take an insane amount of time to reach here. Let's see how long it takes. So it's now 26th of July and we will reach here on 26th of July. Let me decrease the speed, and you can see that literally the day we reach here changes every day, meaning that as long as there is a monsoon happening, which I don't know how long it lasts, it doesn't say it here, it's pretty random, but it means that as long as the monsoon lasts and the province is scorched, enemies will pretty much be never able to reach it. Sometimes it doesn't work like that, and movement speed between these two provinces would take like 3 months. I'm not sure why, but when it does work, it's a very cool feature to use, especially in multiplayer. If you're playing in multiplayer in tropical regions that has monsoon and you can check it, and if you get a severe monsoon, it's a very good defensive position and you can win any battles easily there. Of course, your own troops will take a while to reinforce as well, but it's way worse for the enemies, so take advantage of that and use it. You can see that the date finally got fixed to November 15th. So let's see, we can see that the monsoon season is over. So it lasts around half a year, I guess. So it's a very cool feature for multiplayer occasionally, but it's not something you should be paying attention to in single player. It's not very useful, which is why it's in this video pretty useless tips, but it's pretty fun to use for multiplayer, so go ahead and enjoy. Oh yes, finally some grass.